page 125. Starting from page 120, we have 3 suttas. Yadanicca Sutta, Yaṁdukkha Sutta, and Yadanattā Sutta. And these 3 suttas are almost similar. The first one on page 120 says, form, monks, is impermanent. What is impermanent? That is suffering. What is suffering? That is not self. What is not self? This is not mine. This is not me. This is not myself. Thus is it to be seen with right wisdom as it has occurred. And then ... Thus seeing ... informed disciple or noble ones ... varies of the 5 aggregates. Being weary, he becomes dispassionate. Due to his dispassion, he is liberated. So this one starts with anicca, goes to dukkha, and ends up with anatta. And from there, he begins to see things as they are, and then he becomes weary, and then becomes dispassionate and attains liberation. In the second sutta, 22.16, on page 122, it starts from dukkha, and then it goes to anatta, and then ends up in liberation. And then the next sutta on page 124, Yadanattā Sutta, 22.17, goes straight to anatta, bypassing anicca and dukkha. Goes straight to anatta, and then from there to weariness, detachment, and liberation. Okay? So from these 3 suttas, what sort of conclusions can you reach? Is there anything significant that you can learn from these 3 suttas?
Our group looked a little bit deeper into these stanzas, and we saw that in actual fact all the suttas explain that seeing the 5 aggregates as self, mine, myself, is the suffering. Yeah, that is how the suffering originates.
Got me?
Yeah.
I thought only suffering is in 1 and 2. In the first 2 suttas, more than the third one. The third one goes straight to anatta. Never mentioned anything about suffering.
Yeah, but it talks about the 5 aggregates as
what?
As giving rise to these states.
No.
There is 5 aggregates appear.
I know 5 aggregates is there. It talks about starting with rupa, it goes on to all the other 5 aggregates.
Yes.
But the first one is about anicca, right? Form is impermanent. What is impermanent? That is suffering. What is suffering? That is not self.
Yes.
What is not self? This is not mine, this is not me, this is not myself, right?
Right, yes.
Then?
So we are saying that it's, if we look at it as not self, not mine, and not myself, then the person is liberated, achieves liberation. Is that right?
So the first one is not right. The first one is not in any of these 3 suttas. I don't know how you arrive at the conclusion, but you cannot actually conclude by looking at these 3 suttas. Maybe other suttas, but not these 3 suttas.
Okay.
Number 2 is right.
Yes.
Right wisdom is seeing 5 aggregates as not self, not mine, not myself.
Not myself, yes.
Right? And being wary of the 5 aggregates, he becomes dispassionate and is liberated. He becomes wary only when he sees not self.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We did a sort of deduction method. Basically, the impermanent anicca is mentioned in all. First, SN 22.15, suffering in 2, and non-self in 3. So basically, the emphasis is on non-self. So when non-self is seen with right wisdom, you are wary of 5 aggregates and dispassionate and liberated. That's how we conclude with this for our answer.
Right. Anyone else?
What the group has decided is that with regard to the 5 khandhas, even without experiencing anicca, dukkha, but with
only anatta. But only anatta.
Only anatta, that will lead to weariness, then dispassion, and liberation.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our group comes up with the answer. To be able to see non-self, we need to have right wisdom. Then only will, after seeing non-self, then only will one become wary. Being wary, one will become dispassionate. Being dispassionate, then only will one attain total liberation. That's what these seemingly repetitive suttas are trying to tell us.
The three universal characteristics are interrelated, 3 in 1.
So?
Not just one.
Our team has come to a conclusion with the guidance of Bhante Kumara that it's either one of the 3, which is impermanent, not self, and suffering, that will lead to not self, and then with the right wisdom, then we can actually lead to the liberations.
Seeing any one of the 3?
Yeah, seeing any one of the 3.
Okay.
For the first scenario, the monk see impermanence, then lead to suffering, then we see not self. Okay? This is the sutta number 15. Then the second sutta start with suffering, then the monk see not self. Okay? Then the third sutta, the monk see directly from not self. So our conclusion is not self is needed to be seen, to be able to gain liberation. Seeing impermanence, seeing suffering might not be enough. Okay, for those with low wisdom faculty, they will need to see, maybe start from impermanent, then slowly lead to suffering, then not self. The process could be longer. For those with very sharp wisdom faculty, this is my opinion, I believe it could directly see not self and gain liberation. And how to see not self is the B15, so I don't want to answer.
Continuation from what Kakeng said, seeing non-self, one will just see impermanence and suffering.
Where is it stated? Where?
Seeing non-self means seeing impermanence and suffering included, isn't it?
No,
you will
in
see
the sutta it's the other way around. In the sutta it starts from anicca and then go to dukkha and then go to anatta. Or it starts from dukkha and it goes to anatta. Or it goes straight to anatta. There's nothing in the sutta saying you see anatta first and then dukkha and anicca. Got me?
But I seem to have heard somewhere. Maybe Bhante's knowledge of the suttas, is it anywhere? Only these steps?
So in the sutta, this is a normal step. Yeah.
No
normal step. No, but the commentaries say that they are all different sides of the same coin. The coin got 2 sides only, but they got 3 sides on this one.
What if I don't use the word see, understand? Seeing non-self, one will understand impermanence and suffering. Is it correct? If I don't use seeing...
it's your personal opinion. You can say anything. I don't know what the sutta say. I haven't come across the reverse osmosis process yet. I only see anicca, dukkha, anatta, but not anatta, dukkha, anicca. I haven't seen yet. Maybe one day I will.
How about if it's included in the package, it comes together, it's a glimpse like that. Seeing anatta is like a glimpse, seeing, everything is impermanent and suffering. In a glimpse.
I don't know. I haven't come across it in the sutta yet.
Okay, Bhante, just want to share, plus have I heard from someone who said that Bhante Agachita presumed to have said. He says that there are 3 aspects of this anicca, dukkha, anatta, and people have different inclinations.
3 aspects of sankhara, you mean?
3 aspects.
Of sankhara.
Right, of sankhara. Oh, good, we can correct that. Some can see impermanence clearly, some will see suffering more clearly, and some will see non-self more clearly.
Yeah, that's what Kakeng said just now. Yeah. So it depends on your inclination. But additionally, seeing impermanence by itself is not enough. You have to lead to not self in the end. Seeing dukkha by itself is not enough. You have to see not self also. Yes. Not all 3, but the last one, only 1. The last one is see not self without seeing the other 2. Okay.
First of all, I would like to read what we have come out. with proper practice, it always leads to awareness of the five aggregates. Then dispassion and liberation attain. When starting with anicca and dukkha sanya, one finally needs to arrive at anatta sanya. So actually my personal experience is, before I meet Bhante Akachita, I have been practicing for many years, but I only know anicca and dukkha and not anatta. So this is actually what happens. We need to know anatta. Not just know, actually we need to experience anatta.
I'd like to ask you something, Bhante. Firstly, I'm the anatta type, so I don't understand how it works from anicca and dukkha. So if a person starts from anicca or dukkha, does that lead naturally to anatta? And if it doesn't, does that mean that the understanding of anicca and dukkha is not real yet?
Good question. In Meghiya Sutta, which we have an extract here. Okay, so it says, for one who perceives impermanence, Meghiya, the perception of not self is established. One who perceives not self reaches the uprooting of the conceit I am. You see that? Yeah. Page 138. So it's very simple. Seeing impermanence can lead to not self. But another very important aspect which is not covered in that three suttas, 15, 16, 17, is conditionality. If you see anicca, but you don't see the conditionality, you may not arrive at not self. Anicca, you may think that, oh, it's God trying to play tricks on me. Right? It's not me, not mine, it's God doing all these things. So if you don't see conditionality, you don't see not self. But if you see anicca and you see conditionality, automatically that leads to not self. And that also leads to the cutting off of conceit. Because conceit, it holds on to the idea that there's a self there. But when you see that things arise and pass away due to conditioning, you know that there's no one there. It's all due to cause and condition. So that will lower your pride. Then dukkha, now, depends on how you understand dukkha. Most people, when you say dukkha, they think of physical pain and mental suffering. But it's not necessarily so. Dukkha means also you can see it from an aspect of anatta. That you see all things arising and passing away, but you cannot control it. If something you like, you want it to linger on longer, when the causes and conditions are no longer there, it disappears. Something which you don't like, you want to push it away, it won't go away. See? So when you see that inability to control anything else, and they arise and pass away due to uncontrollable causes and conditions, many uncontrollable causes and conditions, that is also a form of suffering. Yeah. On the other hand, when you look at it from not self, also you can say it's not self, because there's no one there who is doing all these things. These causes and conditions causing it. But if you turn your perspective to another angle, you can see dukkha. So it depends on your mindset, how you want to look at a thing, from which perspective. But the most important thing is conditionality. You can see anicca and yet not understand dukkha and anatta. But if you see anicca and you understand conditionality, you will see dukkha and anatta. In this particular 15, 16 and 17, maybe that's what the Buddha is trying to say. Right? In order to see anatta, but it's not explicitly mentioned in those suttas. It's implicit. Right? If you see anicca, but you don't see conditionality, you cannot arrive at dukkha. If you don't see conditionality also, you cannot arrive at anatta. Okay, that's how I understand it.
The question I want to ask is, just now the conclusion is, eventually we have to realize non-self. But why in the Four Noble Truths, the first Noble Truth is dukkha have to be fully understood? Why don't they say non-self have to be fully understood?
When dukkha is fully understood, not self will be understood. That's why in the first Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the 5 monks did not attain arahantship. Only after the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, after all of them became Sotapan, then only did the Buddha teach Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. And in Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, the Buddha talks in this order. He talks about what is anicca, and then it's dukkha, and then it's anatta.
in my opinion, dukkha sanya only can be attained after you experience the anicca sanya. So,
why?
Because we define dukkha is not a normal suffering. It's about the, how can I say?
Oppression by rise and fall.
Yeah, by rise and fall.
That's according to the commentary. Yeah.
Yes. So it means you already understood the anicca. Yeah. So first of all, you have to understand and experience about the anicca sanya. Then you can totally experience the dukkha sanya. After that, in the second sutta, it mentioned about straightforward to the dukkha sanya. So I think it's because in this sutta, this Sāvaka may also have the anicca sanya. So then Buddha trained him go straight from the dukkha sanya, is it?
That's your assumption, is it?
Yes, it's my assumption. Because I think without anicca sanya, you cannot attain dukkha sanya. So the same meaning is, without dukkha sanya, you cannot attain anatta sanya. So it's a step. First is anicca sanya, and then go to the dukkha sanya.
Why is there a step from dukkha to anatta?
Because combine the anicca, everything is rising, everything is falling, and then everything is impermanent. So, and then you feel it's a dukkha. And when you feel it's a dukkha, it's not in yourself, according to the condition.
Yeah, you got to see conditioning.
Yes.
If you don't see conditioning, you don't see anatta, can you?
But when you know the condition totally, it means you also have the anicca sanya and the dukkha sanya.
And you know the conditions.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Because if you do not totally understand about the condition, you cannot go to the anatta sanya. Is it? So we have to go through 3 steps, isn't it?
No, according to these 3 suttas, it seems that it's possible to go from 1 to 3, or from 2 to 3, or straight to 3.
How about this Sāvaka already understood about anicca sanya or dukkha sanya?
I mean, that's also possible. Why not? It's possible. Anything is possible.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Pandit.
Okay.
Bhante, I would like to comment that it seems that the perception of anicca and dukkha and anicca has different levels and different perspectives. Like for some traditions, they may actually define anicca sanya as seeing things arise from moment to moment, rise and pass away from moment to moment, and that is only that is anicca. My understanding is anicca has got a bigger gambit than just that aspect. Change is just change. And likewise with dukkha. Now, coming to the question of 3 in 1, when one sees anatta, he sees conditioning, but the mere fact is conditioning. One already sees that because of all this conditioning, it is insubstantial, therefore it's not permanent. So it's like seeing 3 in 1 at one go. All right? Now, I remember reading a sutta, I think it's from the Samyutta Nikaya. I couldn't narrow down the source, maybe Bhante could help me with that. Where in the sutta, the Buddha says, the eye is impermanent, the ear is permanent, so on and so on. But after that, there was one more statement. He says, why is the eye impermanent? Right? It's because it is conditioned. Right? So it is like, impermanent, saying impermanent is not enough. One has to see the conditionality.
This is only my personal opinion. You see, pain, if you reject it, you are not satisfied with it, then pain changing, pain changes, you see anicca. I mean, if you reject it, there's dukkha, unsatisfactory, isn't it? But if you accept it, you don't reject it, it's also dukkha.
Dukkha is dukkha, whether you accept or reject.
I mean, if you don't reject, you don't have that unpleasant feeling.
No, so you're talking about feeling. Dukkha is a feeling. But this is not about feelings.
Okay, unsatisfactoriness is not a feeling?
No.
It's a phenomena.
But it's an interpretation, a subjective interpretation of changing phenomena.
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically, I think, what all of us agree, that we can see a common denominator among these 3 suttas, and that is anatta, right? Even if you start with anicca, you must go to dukkha and then end up with anatta. If you start with dukkha without doing anicca, you still got to go to anatta. But if you go straight to anatta, you need not have to go to anicca and dukkha. All right. What does this show? This shows that different people have got different dispositions. For some people, if you ask them to look at anicca, they say very boring, seeing things, arising and passing away. Some you ask them to look at dukkha, they say, ayya, so morbid. So if you ask them to look at anatta, they're very interested. They can see all the things arising and passing away. There's no one there. They come about because of causes and conditions. They find it very interesting. So there's actually no single right way. Yeah, it depends on the disposition of the person. Some people, they have to start with anicca, and then from there, they end up with anatta. For some people, they go straight to anatta. But whatever it is, according to these three suttas, you have to end up in anatta. Now, it seems like there's a common denominator. And that is also very true, because if you look at the first sutta that the Buddha preached, which is the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, right? At the end of the sutta, while the sutta was being discussed, one of the 5 ascetics attained the Dhamma eye, became a Sotapan, right? That's Makundanya. The other 4 did not become a Sotapan at the end of the discourse. So after the discourse, they had to go for intensive retreat. The Buddha had to coach them to meditate. And then after a few days, one by one, all of them became Sotapan. So when everybody had become a Sotapan, then only the Buddha gave the second discourse, called the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, about not-self, the characteristics of not-self. Now this is very interesting. Why should the Buddha talk about not-self when all of them have become Sotapan? Sotapan is supposed to have eradicated the wrong view of self, isn't it? Right or not? A wrong view that there is a permanent, unchanging self. Sotapan already eradicated. Why want to talk about the same thing again? But conceit can only be overcome by an arahant. And conceit also has a sense of self. Right or not? If there's no sense of self, who is there to be conceited? Right? So there is a sense of self. Even the Sotapan has a sense of self, but it's a different sort of sense. It's not like the common worldling. He still has this belief that there is a permanent, unchanging self. But the Sotapan doesn't have any belief that there is a permanent, unchanging self, but he still has this sense of I is still there. And this is a very, very deeply rooted thing that can only be overcome by an arahant, eradicated by an arahant. So that's why not self is still the most important thing of the 3. Right? Some people say that, well, the Sotapan has fully understood anicca, but not yet dukkha and anatta. The Anagami has fully understood anicca and dukkha, but not yet anatta. Only the arahant has fully understood everything, including anatta.